The rain that we started the week with, well, that's turned to showers. Nevertheless, through the Wash, parts of Norfolk, Suffolk, perhaps Kent, we'll see quite a number of showers continuing through the day, along with a brisk northeast breeze and a lot of cloud. That's going to make it feel considerably cooler than elsewhere across the UK. So low to mid-teens on the east coast, where we've got some sunny spells elsewhere, 15 to 17 Celsius. We start Thursday with widespread clear skies. Still one or two showers through the day across the far southeast, but otherwise, for many, it's simply a sunny day. Best day of the week widely across the UK, and feeling pleasant enough in that sunshine with light winds as well.
We love making our audience big cash winners, and you really could be next. With £36,000 tax-free cash in your bank account. Imagine getting the call about that.
Angela, you've won £30,000.
£30,000 cash?
Yes.
Oh my God, I'm going to cry. That's brilliant news.
For another chance to win £36,000 in tax-free cash, text CASH to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. You can enter online at gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2, or post your name and number to GB08, PO Box 8690, Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 5 p.m. on the 25th of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
GB News Breakfast. Every day from 6 a.m.
It was revealed that former Prime Minister Boris Johnson had what they called a manly pep talk with Prince Harry in an attempt to persuade the Duke to stay in the UK.
Let's talk to former Royal Gardener Jack Stooks and Royal commentator Richard Fitzwilliams. Morning to you both. Richard, what do you think? Do we need to forgive and forget?
Well, firstly, I mean, they don't want to come back, and at the moment, absolutely not. I mean, you'd have a circus. Every single royal event that involved the Sussexes, you'd have the focus on them and so forth. It would, in reality, be completely impractical if you consider that in the past 4 years, they've conducted a guerrilla war against the royal family. They've done enormous damage to it.
OK, Jack, I know that over the many years you worked for Prince Charles, you got to know both of the boys very well. And you're a bit fed up with the negative way that certainly we now in the media in Britain talk about Harry.
What have they actually done that's been so awful that Britain can't let them come and go as they please? All they've done is be themselves. So Harry chose to marry Meghan. You know, everybody has an opinion, and completely everybody's entitled to that opinion. Like them or loathe them, that's the opinion that people have. But they haven't been given a ban on not coming back to England. So if they want to come back to England, let them come back to England. If they don't want to come back to England, again, they don't need to. It is their lives, and that's what Harry was banging on about at the time. He just wanted to have his life.
The People's Channel.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Dubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the arguments. We get rid of the disrespect, and then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together, and what have we got? In my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good evening. The top stories at 11 o'clock. The Prime Minister says Iran has menaced the Middle East for far too long as he condemns this evening's missile attack on Israel. Sir Keir Starmer said he was deeply concerned that the region is on the brink and for the risk of miscalculation. Downing Street confirmed he's spoken to France's President Macron and Germany's Chancellor Olaf Scholz. All three leaders condemn Iran's attack. In a televised address tonight, the Prime Minister publicly supported Israel's right to defend itself.
Make no mistake, Britain stands full square against such violence. We support Israel's reasonable demand for the security of its people
Conservative leadership hopefuls Robert Jenrick and James Cleverly have hit out at Nigel Farage's Reform UK party. Mr Jenrick has suggested the party's popularity is down to Tory failure and broken promises, and James Cleverly ruled out a deal with Farage to win back voters. The candidates were speaking on stage at the Conservative Party conference this afternoon.
I think it's a symptom, not a cause. It exists in its current state because we failed. And by that I don't mean you, the members of the party, I mean we in Westminster.
We need to demonstrate that we are a proper Conservative party, because Reform is a pale imitation of us. We don't need to be a pale imitation of them.
A 14-year-old girl has been left with potentially life-changing injuries after a suspected acid attack outside a school in West London. A boy aged 16 and a 27-year-old woman were also injured after the substance, believed to be acidic, was thrown at the victims outside Westminster Academy yesterday afternoon. Police believe the teenagers were approached by a lone suspect who was on an e-scooter with a member of staff, then being left injured when she rushed to help. The suspect is described as tall, slim, black male, wearing dark clothing with his face obscured, possibly by a mask or balaclava. Now, theatres across the country dimmed their lights earlier this evening to honour the legacy of Dame Maggie Smith, who died on Friday at the age of 89. The star of screen and stage had multiple Olivier Awards, having appeared in the National Theatre's debut season in 1963. On screen, she was perhaps best known for her roles in the Harry Potter film series, as well as Downton Abbey, the TV series. And Buckingham Palace has announced Her Royal Highness Princess Beatrice and her husband, Edoardo Mapelli-Mozzi, are expecting their second child together. Due in the early spring, the new arrival will be a sibling for the couple's daughter, Sienna, and the princess's stepson, Wolfie, who you can see in this picture here. The king has been informed, and both families are delighted with the news. Well, those are the latest GB News headlines for now. I'm Cameron Walker. It's now time for Headliners.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Thanks, Cameron. Hello and welcome to Headliners, your first look at Wednesday's newspapers with added value laughter. I'm Josh Howie. Joining me tonight is the comedy X-Men Kerry Marks and Paul Cox. That's the best.
Generation X.
Guys, it's been a big news day. That is the best I could write.
I only come in to hear our introductions.
You've both got X in your name.
You've had a busy day, I guess.
It has been a busy day. Let's get straight to it. Let's have a look at the front pages. We're going to go first with the Daily Telegraph. Iran attacks Israel. The Iran missile attack on Israel sparks fear of new war. The Guardian, Israel vows to retaliate after Iran launches missile attack. The Metro, Iran's new blitz at Israel. The FT, Iran fires missile barrage against Israel. And finally, The Times, Middle East erupts. And those are your front pages. First up, Kerry, it's a very light news day in The Guardian.
It is indeed. I think we'll start with a little story in the corner just because it might give us a bit of relief before we dive into the heavy stuff, hopefully more successfully than an Iranian missile. So the story in the corner is how gambling boss Denise Coates became the UK's richest woman.
Sorry, we're going to fix your mic for a second, but we're going to talk about that story in the corner because it is vitally important. We're sorting out your mic, but let's hear Paul hear that story.
What Kerry was saying there, Josh, was that how gambling boss Denise Coates become the UK's richest woman.
Did she marry someone?
Well, I can tell you, no, she generated all this money by getting other people to gamble with their money and she reaped the rewards. That's how she got there. Very sincere picture of her there. We're supposed to believe that because she's a woman, this is all good things. But, of course, gambling isn't a good thing. There are plenty of people. It can be fun when the fun stops. Obviously, stop, Kerry.
Stop speaking, Kerry.
Sorry,
you cannot speak until we have your mic sorted out.
I mean, yeah.
The Iranians have got into the mic system at GB News. They knew that you were about to sprout a bunch of pro-Israel propaganda. The audience can't even hear you at the moment.
That's why I can do it. That's why I can lie.
There is also a review here, which is the wildest drama on TV, 5 stars. Assuming that's another review of Headlines.
Well, look, whilst we're sorting out the mic and we've got the screen up there, we've got the Guardian so no one can see the team that we have working around you. The main story, of course, Israel vows to retaliate after Iran launches the missile attack. This happened this afternoon whilst we were putting together this show, and I was shaking, to be honest. Family, friends in Israel. I don't know, did you see some of the footage? I mean, before you see stuff in the sky and these kind of missiles, but then when you're seeing them all land, and they were landing, they were hitting, they were reaching their targets, it was terrifying.
Yeah, well, these are ballistic missiles, and it's just an awful way of finding out whether my mic's working. It's ballistic missiles. So you carry on, I'll join in when I...
It is. It is harrowing to watch, and often when these things are happening on television elsewhere, it doesn't feel like it's impacting you directly, but... I know you've got friends and family over there, Josh. I don't know if Kerry does as well, but I certainly have friends also that have friends in Israel that are worried. And I've been saying for weeks now with this with the escalation that's going on and how isolated Israel are, and the rhetoric within mainstream media across the Western world that feels entirely necessary to come down on any side via Israel, other than Israel, because it sees Israel as the baddie in all of this, when all it's really doing is defending itself. Now, what's happening here is hopefully just some bravado from Iran, but I fear it's not.
180 ballistic missiles. Kerry, this is the largest ballistic missile attack in history, I believe.
Yes,
this is more than bravado. This is an attempt at annihilation.
I know, and also I find it very strange when people keep arguing whether it's... I mean, Israel's attacks right now are going on with... there's attacks in the West Bank, like Jenin and so on, where there's a sort of terrorist training camps at various places around there. Yes, but I mean, the different attacks or the different wars that Israel's fighting with Gaza, with Lebanon, attacks have come in from Syria, from Iraq, from Yemen. This is multi-country, and now, of course, this massive attack from Iran.
Who's behind them all?
Who's really, yes, controlling it all. This has been brewing for decades, and obviously it goes back to way before that as well. So what's happening is this is finally being played out, and it's been inevitable, I think, in many ways. And really, what would stop it is stop trying to destroy Israel.
It really is.
It really is. If you don't destroy Israel, and in fact, Israel's taken the hand of friendship of every country that's offered it, and this isn't simply a case of being biased. It's more a case of Israel is not. It's never moved beyond its borders. It has no intention of moving beyond its borders. There's no statements of that interest at all, other than invading for their own security. But if you just accept Israel exists, all this stops. That's it.
Yeah,
and that's a shame.
Does the Times have any more information, Paul?
Yeah, well, obviously it continues with the headline, Middle East erupts, and the same picture, harrowing picture that we're seeing of those ballistic missiles raining down on Israel. But there is a story here which would have been probably the biggest story of the day had it not been for this attack from Iran, and that's that Islamist terrorists have shot dead 6 people in Tel Aviv. As these Iran missiles were landing, or just previous, I believe, and they essentially these chaps stepped onto a tram in Tel Aviv and just opened fire indiscriminately, but targeted on the Jewish people of Israel. They were shot dead or neutralised, as the story says.
6 people murdered. Fortunately, we should have said from the missiles, there were no deaths. There was one
Palestinian.
There was a Palestinian in the West Bank, but there were no deaths in Israel proper, if you want to call it that. That's obviously a tragedy for the Palestinian man who was killed by debris. Here you have 6 civilians killed as they're trying to go home, I imagine, from work or going out. And this is very much a daily occurrence in Israel. This is what you have. And the idea that Israel, it's not meant to impact the society of Israel, it's not meant to fight back, to build walls, to protect itself. No country can
No country would be expected. People keep mentioning the Iron Dome, but the Iron Dome is like 90% successful, and it is still... I don't know how anyone would feel if we had an Iron Dome, but we were being attacked at a level this much. Enough bombs and missiles to completely destroy Israel that have happened just in the last 12 months. If the Iron Dome hadn't been there, that's a huge risk, because that could go wrong at any time. And of course, one of their aims is always to take out the sites that control the Iron Dome. So. It's not a risk that Israel can take, and what people have to accept is they're not going to. They're not going to accept people who want to completely destroy them.
Well, they have no choice. So moving on from that very quickly, Kerry, I'd like to hear from both of you. What do you think? I mean, you both obviously have a direct line to Netanyahu.
I do.
What do you think's happening next? I mean, Israel has no choice but to retaliate, right? That's what they say.
I'll let Kerry speak in a minute, but I just do not see Netanyahu, of all the leaders, stepping down at all now. In fact, I think he'll be leaning on the US. I think that's stage 2 of this. Not only will he retaliate, but he'll be looking to the US to support him in that retaliation. And I think further than that, we'll within this country be looking at Sir Keir Starmer as our Prime Minister, because he has flip-flopped all over the place on this particular subject.
Well, that's very interesting, because, Kerry, we just saw a speech from Keir Starmer where he came out very strong.
I thought he was, very solid, considering he does have tremendous pressures, of course, within to stand against Israel no matter what, and I thought that was a good, firm stance from him. What did you think?
No, I thought it was good. The problem is that to deny Israel weapons licences, which our Foreign Secretary David Lammy did,
yes,
and then to turn around and go, no, we support you. Well, if
well, it's not just that, is it? He's also restoring the funding for UNRWA and so on, which is...
And just the other day we had...
we can say it's a news story on that one of the UNRWA... It's the guy who was in charge of the education system, wasn't he?
Yeah,
and he turns out to be a head member of Hamas, which needs to be answered, really. I mean, all these things are what's going on in the background of all this. People are seeing the face of it, but the background is the UN has been completely bathed in blood for a long time now, and we've seen it. Iran is the head of the part of the Security Council that brings out all these condemnations of Israel all the time, which is roughly 25 times more than every other country in the world put together. So, it's insane.
There's stuff I want to say here about the BBC, but we're going to save that for the next section. Before we go to the break, though, Paul, what is the Daily Star's perspective on World War III?
You go for the Daily Star today. Queen's funeral horsey gets an OBE. The gone for long-faced hero.
This has got nothing to do with Israel. Why are you talking about this, Paul?
He has absolutely nothing to do. His name, by the way, I believe, is Lord Firebrand. Of course it is. This
sexy name.
Yeah, real sexy name. It's been given an OBE, or the equivalent. I don't know. It doesn't actually allude to what the equivalent of an OBE for a horse is. But I think there are sugar cubes involved and maybe extra strokes.
It's lovely for him, and he's going to be the envy of all the other horses.
Well, I respect the Daily Star for just going off piece.
Yes, and saying...
This is the
big story, yeah, totally.
Not a sausage on the front page at all. Not even a lean towards it.
They know who their base is. Right, that's the front page's seen off. After these fine messages, come back for racist police, but not who you think, and Labour Party cheat sheet, or should that be book? Hey, see you in 2.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Well, Italian wine in Britain is worth a whopping £891 million and can be described as a Prosecco phenomenon, apparently. So joining us now to tell us more about why these Italian bubbles are so popular is Ed Smith, the founder of The Emissary, a British-based Prosecco brand. Good morning, Ed.
Morning, guys.
Thank you for coming in, and you've done just as we asked. You've come laden with booze and bottles and glasses.
Exactly.
So the definition of Prosecco, Tatiana, you were saying earlier, is sparkling wine that's been made in certain areas of Italy. Which areas?
Exactly. So the Prosecco region is northeast Italy. It's about sort of an hour north of Venice. Foothills of Dolomite Mountains. Very, very beautiful part of Italy. Veneto, exactly. Well done.
Show off.
I'm half Italian, so...
well, there we go. OK, you should be teaching me.
No, that's it.
So like Champagne, that has to come from the Champagne region in France. Prosecco has to come from the Prosecco region in Italy. And it's different to Champagne and other sparkling wines, like English sparkling wine, in that geography, like we just mentioned, has to come from that region in Italy. The grapes that are used are different. So Prosecco has to be at least 85% Glera, which is the native grape to the region. And it's most importantly the method. So Champagne and English sparkling wines use the traditional method, where second fermentation, which produces the bubbles, happens in the bottle. Whereas Prosecco uses what's called the Charmat method. So the second fermentation happens in still vats. It's a much quicker process, and that's why Prosecco is a bit more affordable.
So the Emissary is a British-based Prosecco brand.
Yeah.
So is it made in the UK?
No, made in Italy.
Yeah, that's why you can call it Prosecco.
Exactly.
Yeah. You can't call it Prosecco unless it's made in those 2 regions.
Great. So can we get stuck into some of these? That's the most important
Absolutely.
thing of this morning.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Welcome to State of the Nation, daily plunge into the stories shaping our country. I'm Jacob Rees-Mogg, and Monday to Thursday we bring you the insights, the facts, the truth about how our country is being governed. Because what happens in Downing Street matters down your street. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain.
Your lunchtime update on the stories that matter across the UK.
From breaking news and insightful analysis, inspiring stories and lively debates. You're comparing yourself to a former Prime Minister.
Which is it? Stay informed, stay updated, stay entertained.
I just don't know how anyone would not want to be there.
Every weekday from midday.
We are Good Afternoon Britain, only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Headliners, your first look at Wednesday's newspapers. I'm Josh Howie, this is Kerry Marks, and this is Paul Cox. And together, we are the three amigos. Guys, come on.
You've got to rehearse that stuff, Josh.
We have been practicing, well, you're pretending that we haven't been practicing all day. I am shocked.
I was pretending my mic's still not working. I'm pretending that I don't have to join in with anything.
You really made me out to be a real idiot there. I'm very, very...
Well, now you've seen the true Josh.
Okay, that's true. Kerry, let's start with an inhumane crime.
Yes.
Tuesday's Express, but whatever you do, do not speculate who did it.
No, it's... well, this is horrible. It's London acid attacker. 2 teenagers and a staff member have been rushed to hospital following the attack, which was at 4:40 p.m. Teenage girls suffering potentially life-changing injuries, and we're not really sure whether... We're told there was an attacker, but later on we get the word culprits. The police are looking for culprits, so I'm not quite sure. But then we come back to an attacker who is described as tall, slim, black male wearing dark clothing with his face obscured, possibly by a mask or balaclava. He rode an e-scooter to and from the scene. It's just, you know, it's probably going to turn out... We know it's going to turn out to be mental illness or something, but I think all these type of attacks just have this horrible, empty, senseless feel, like the Southampton stabbings. It's like, you know, how can anyone do that? What is it? We don't know. I'm just saying...
Southport, by the way. Southport.
Sorry, Southport, yeah.
But we don't know if it's mental health. It may well be. We don't know the motive. We don't know anything. We do know...
We don't know anything. I'm just saying that
cultural...
It's horrifying.
This is a seemingly escalating type of crime. Unfortunately, this is not something that has just been around for a long time. This is seemingly
it's
ever
more regular.
common.
There were cases over the last 20, 30 years. Famously, there was that model, I forget her name now, who was attacked by her boyfriend and has gone on to have a wonderful career, and lots of people rally around. Fantastic stuff, but it's a shame she had to go through that. What we are seeing over the last couple of years is an increase in this type of crime, particularly against women. We don't know anything about this, and you're right not to speculate. I'm not going to either. It happens at a school. And in a city London school like London, access to the school is a lot easier. I live out in the suburbs, and a school is well fenced off.
Well, this, I believe, was outside in the street.
Yeah, but what I mean by that is the school buildings are on the street. Now, there's lots of security, I'm sure, but it only takes students to be gathering outside. This happened at 4:40. So the chances are it was after school. I don't know any schools that are still open at 4:40. So, fortunately, I would hope there weren't masses of children around. And what we do know is staff came out to help. But also, interestingly, it says officers were on routine patrol and they were flagged down. I think it's quite nice to hear, no matter how tragic this is, that the police were on routine patrol in the area and were able to assist.
To be grabbed. Yeah, it also says that the 2 policemen involved or police involved are feeling unwell, but no one's sure what the substance exactly was used.
But I just want to raise one thing before we move on. The gentleman, he was not a gentleman, the inhuman
excuse of a human,
was wearing a mask or a balaclava. Is this time to start bringing legislation to the opposite of from before and remove these masks? Because they are worn on the street, they're worn in the area that young people wear them. They're obviously nothing to do with health, they are to do to hide who they are, and I believe it's time for...
It's a really interesting point, you know. I think generally, even when you're walking along at night and people come towards you wearing balaclavas and masks and so on, it never makes you feel safe, does it? You always think there's something suspicious about it, at the very least.
Well, there is something suspicious about it, particularly if it's on an August evening or something, and they're not trying to keep warm in any way.
Yeah.
It's a cultural thing, by which I don't mean colour of skin, by the way. I mean there's gang culture, and I just hope we are able to tackle.
We're praying for this young woman and hope that she's okay.
Yeah.
Right. Shocking story of police racism in the Telegraph, Paul, but with a twist.
Yeah, this time head of Met's Black Police Association faces sacking over racist texts. I'm glad they've all joined in. Inspector Charles A. Kiowa is accused of sending misogynist, racist and violent and otherwise inappropriate WhatsApp messages. And should he be found guilty, and it hasn't been yet, the inquest doesn't start till January, he could be dismissed without notice for his behaviour.
But at the moment, he's on suspension, I imagine.
He is on suspension right now as we stand. The details... have not been shared any further than the words that I've used to describe the text. It turns out, really, that skin colour has nothing to do with being racist, all of a sudden, really, because my understanding is this is a black gentleman and he is head of...
well, he is the chairman. It would be pretty impressive if he was chairman of the Black Association if he was...
Black people can't be racist. I've read this.
This is what this flies in the face.
No way.
Maybe it turns out he won't be racist. I mean, or if he is, he might pull a David Lammy and make it all about him in some way and probably end up with a pay rise and a promotion.
Yeah, well, he'll get that if he goes around pulling like David Lammy. Misogynistic, racist, violent, otherwise inappropriate... We don't really know what any of this causes, and otherwise inappropriate messages could be anything these days. You might use the word woman.
I think you and I exchange.
Yeah, totally.
2 points I want to say here. One is it says and or received, and that's also partly a dangerous thing here. The Electronic Communications Act means that even possessing these, having them sent to you, means that you're liable to be prosecuted. Which
if you don't delete it or keep it on your phone,
you can be done for it. And the other thing is that he himself is he's saying that he is a victim of racism himself, and there's some suggestion that could be a bit of a stitch.
It's cooked up because he accused some other officers of pulling him over because he was black, which is... I mean, that feels like one of those great moments where you say, actually, I'm your boss, you know, but I don't know whether...
I would be driving around in a very smart car just to be pulled over.
Yes, just for that amazing moment. And also, Colin Wingrove, the commander, said of the allegations, we're determined to build a Met that truly listens to and reflects the many communities it serves. There is no place for racism. Discrimination in all its forms must be challenged by every Met officer, member. I always call that the robot statement.
Yes.
You know, the thing you have to say, the meaningless...
Did it really well. Yes. Did it really well.
Meaningless thing that you need to say.
The Guardian next, Kerry, and as someone who's working illegally whilst on the dole, what do you make of this one?
How did you find out? You're checking my bank account.
We're going to do some funny stories now, everybody. This is where the funny stuff
Slowly moving towards...
We're moving towards... We're getting on...
Piece of time. Let's not rush it. It's a process.
We're getting the racism. We're moving on.
My mic's only just started working. I can't really go crazy too fast. This is about the monitoring of UK bank accounts for benefit frauds, which is being proposed at the moment. And it's, of course, a lot of people complaining about it because it's truly ominous. And it's got that feeling. You remember during Blair's government, there was a lot of this, and there was we had all the databases going on and so on, and loads of laws against free speech and checking up on us and so on. And there was a phrase we kept hearing, which governments say every now and then, and it comes and it's this: if you have nothing to hide, you have nothing to fear, which terrifies me. You know, if you don't know how scary that is, try saying it with reverb or through a megaphone. So say it.
Hide a few things is what I would say.
Well, exactly.
Certainly with all your cash gigs.
I'm hiding loads of things. Nothing illegal, but you know,
but the
stuff that's none of their business.
Well, exactly. I'm a libertarian at heart, and I have an innate reaction, disgust to this big brother digital centralised currency, the overuse of personal data. I understand in this situation what they're trying to say. If you've got nothing to hide, etc. And this is about benefit fraud. However, I think these things should be reserved for the most severest of crimes. Murder, terrorism. Who stole my sandwich from the fridge? Kerry?
Who was it?
Kerry, I don't know.
It was delicious.
But it's... I'm trying to defend my libertarian views on this at all costs, because it's very easy to capitulate and say, oh, well, we'll just do it on one thing like this. No one wants to see benefit fraud. It costs us all money. But at the end of the day, you start giving in and before you know it,
yes, it. So
yeah, there is an argument. Sorry, there is an argument in there that the public are paying for this, so therefore to check people aren't cheating and so on. But where does it end as well? I mean, do you start checking people's houses for medications because they're being given medications free on the NHS and so on? Do you start throwing a ball at blind people to check they're not lying to get their little,
Hey, you're actually doing some very good suggestions here.
I know, I am. This is these are not good suggestions. These are bad ideas. Do you understand?
It's very good. The Sun has some embarrassing news about Labour. Is it the big one, Paul?
It's not the big one. Labour left.
Don't even say the big one. We're not even allowed to say it.
Labour left red-faced after leaked cheat sheet to help MPs seem normal revealed. So Labour bosses have issued their politicians with a cheat sheet about the cost of bread and milk, etc., so they don't slip up in interviews. Now, whilst I am thoroughly enjoying the hypocrisy of Labour being pointed out at every turn at the moment, I don't think the measure of normal is understanding what the price of bread and milk is. Now, according to this article...
Hold on, let's ask Josh, offhand, without looking.
Yeah.
Loaf of bread?
£1.40.
That's exactly. Oh, come on. OK, a dozen eggs?
A dozen eggs, £3.
Don't look anywhere.
£3.40 or so, £3.
OK, a kilo of sugar?
Oh, I'm on keto.
Average weekly pay for people?
38,000, well, as a family.
Yeah, I think so, yes, medium household.
More than I earn.
32,000. OK, try this one.
Pint of milk, 65p. Anyway, the point is, I'm a member of the Labour Party.
What do you say if you're asked about cutting winter fuel payments?
I'd say, Keir Starmer's just amazing and we'll just do whatever he wants.
No, you have to say we're making tough decisions.
Sorry, we're making tough decisions.
Oh, my God, you should have known that one. That was easy.
Fair measure, though, isn't
Look, it's not... This is a slightly ridiculous thing because I think that Labour, they do know the cost of all this stuff because they have to fill in their expenses for Lord Ali.
Yeah.
So...
yeah, and there's no milk and bread on there.
I'll tell you what kind of... Surely MPs know they need to know this information. This is like when you're a teenager and you get on a bus and you're already... Or, when you're too old to get the free pass or whatever, or when you're trying to get into a club and you're too young. You know what year to say. You know you're going to be asked what year were you born, right?
We'll get ask them how many genders
ask
they are.
Them the willy
you
question.
Get too many questions. Yeah, the willy question, is that what it's called?
The willy question.
This is what I want to know the answer to from people who are going to stand up in society and lead us.
Yeah, exactly. Well, start with a pint of milk and we'll move forward from there. Right, finishing... actually, no, you know what? We're going to go to the interval. We're halfway through the show. We've got plenty more news and chuckling to come with the end of the licence fee. HIV is making a comeback and sperm is on the up. See you in 2.
Hello and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. It's becoming drier from the west, but it's taking a time with still a lot of cloud across the UK and some showery rain. That rain, well, it's causing some issues across the east of England, and it will continue into the evening as the area of low pressure that's been with us for some days slowly pulls away. So some wet weather to come for East Anglia and the southeast overnight. Otherwise, the rain in the east tends to turn lighter and more showery as the night progresses, but we keep a lot of cloud for much of England and Wales. The clearest skies overnight will be for Scotland and Northern Ireland, 1 or 2 showers. Otherwise, under those clear skies, temperatures falling into the mid or even low single figures in some sheltered spots. But that's where we've got the brightest weather to start off Wednesday. Northern Ireland and Scotland, plenty of blue skies. Quite a difference from much of central, eastern and southern England, where there's a lot of low cloud, some mist and murk and some drizzle. Likewise for central and eastern Wales, but West Wales will see much brighter skies. Northern England turning brighter through the morning. Scotland and Northern Ireland, meanwhile, apart from 1 or 2 showers in the east, we'll see plenty of sunny skies. And we keep the sunshine across western Scotland and Northern Ireland throughout Wednesday. That's the place to be for widespread blue skies, and actually it's looking brighter for Northern England and North Wales. Elsewhere, a lot of cloud cover, and we've got these showers continuing to roll into East Anglia, the East Midlands and the southeast through the day. So that's going to make it feel a little less pleasant, and brisk wind from the east as well will hold temperatures back in the mid-teens, but elsewhere feeling warm enough in any sunny spells. Then going into the evening, the clear skies in the north will progress southwards, and so a chilly start for many of us on Thursday, but actually plenty of fine weather through the day, sunny spells and feeling pleasant, but into the weekend, more rain to come.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
If you want your news to be straight talking,
this is the nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Every Saturday, 10 till 12, we'll bring you all of the news that you need to know. We'll also remind you that there is so much to smile about.
It's my favourite time of the week. I get to relax, enjoy some light-hearted stories, and let Ellie teach me about fashion too.
That's Saturday Morning Live, every Saturday, 10 till 12.
Only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Headliners. Let's kick off with Wednesday's mail poll, where our competition might have to start working for a living.
Oh, you never know. James Cleverly warns the BBC that the licence fee is unsustainable in the age of Netflix, as Tory leadership hopeful turns their fire on broadcasters' funding. So, look, whilst I believe there has been some... I mean, I'll be the first person to take a bit of a dig at the BBC, particularly in modern times. But let's not forget that the BBC have produced brilliant shows over the years in comedy, light entertainment, etc.
Over the
documentary. Over the years, not recently. And now I totally agree with James Cleverly. I mean, I don't think for a moment that James Cleverly is ever going to get to enact this. I don't think he'll be the person to do it. It's also probably 4 or 5 years away. I don't see Labour doing this. But there comes a time where... They have this monopoly now. The taxpayer pays for the BBC. They don't have to worry about ratings, anything. They can just do what they like, and they pander to...
They can do as much pro-Hamas propaganda as they want.
Exactly. So, and do you know what? Put that to the test. If they believe in that stuff and they can't call out Hamas, there's a really good point. They've really fallen short on this. Take their funding away and see how many people will fund that. I don't think enough people will fund that. People will go and watch Netflix.
Yes. And you're right, they have in the past delivered, and they still do some great documentaries, period dramas and so on. They could maybe make a great documentary about how the licence fee isn't worth it anymore, you know. They could do a really thorough job of that. And what is going on? Do you know what? I haven't really liked the whole licence fee thing ever since seeing all the threats that have been going out for years. You know, when you used to get all those adverts and so on, basically, we're watching you and we're going to kill your whole family. They're worse than chain letters. And I think a lot of people feel disgruntled with the BBC nowadays. And one thing Cleverly suggesting is that they sell Peppa Pig to China, which I think would upset you. You're the pig guy,
you
aren't you?
can't just go selling... I am the
man
pig
with his pig on his tie.
Obviously, the BBC would say that the licence fee is what pays initially for those programmes. They do make quality programmes. Peppa Pig, great TV show. Can't eat it, but love it. And there's an interesting point that's made here that I think he kind of gets wrong. It says, why aren't the BBC selling this to China? Well, the BBC actually do make a fair amount of money, to be fair, selling things like Doctor Who and other brands all across the world.
They call it BBC International, don't they?
Yeah, so they...
how does Peppa feel about it? You know,
being sold.
Choice. How would you feel if it sold you off to China?
I don't know. It is a tricky one.
You don't know?
I don't know, because I'm thinking of the next question I'm going to ask you.
No, wait a minute. Wait, stop for a second. Do you know how you'd feel about being sold to China or not?
How I would feel? I thought you said Peppa Pig.
I said, how would you feel? When you, well, I don't know.
I don't know. Let's find if China buys the station. Let's find out how...
I was talking about you personally.
That is just wonderful.
The BBC, though, deserves to stand on its own 2 feet, and it's not right now. Yeah. It's getting funded to the tune of millions and millions of pounds.
Yes, but if they made loads of cute creatures, animated creatures that China wants, then they wouldn't need to pay it.
I'd say BBC News Today has been standing on one very wobbly foot. More mail, Kerry, and I know the 90s is back on trend, but surely this is taking it too far.
So, alarm as HIV soars by a third. amongst heterosexual Britons. So much for our after-show orgy, guys.
Yeah.
It looks like that's off. The number...
I'm still game.
This is the way it normally works out. You're doing the chasing. The number of new HIV diagnoses discovered through testing in England increased by 15%. That's going from 2,450 in 2022 to just over 2,800 in 2023. And the biggest increase has been heterosexual men.
Thank you for acknowledging
finally.
Increases in HIV. Yes, it's particularly high outside of London. And I've been telling you for ages it's dangerous out there. You know a lot about this, of course. You did one of my favourite shows in Edinburgh on the HIV thing, which, believe it or not, was it doesn't sound like it would be, but it was a very funny show.
No, it's called HIV a Survivor
You're like an expert.
Story. And it's called AIDS a Survivor Story, and it's all about growing up in the 80s, 90s, and
sorry, it was AIDS, not HIV. Sorry, perfect right. Wow, give a man a compliment and you're never happy.
Yeah.
Anyway, so there's
It's nice how I have your favourite comedy show about AIDS.
It's true.
The only comedy show about AIDS.
This is not about heterosexual men, though, is it? This
Best show on AIDS ever.
To be heterosexual. This is all that's happened.
This is not even about that. What this is really about...
You want to do the story?
Why don't we cover it? It's interesting here because this is from the Mail. The Telegraph, who has the same story, has a very different headline, focusing on the fact that this increase is from people not born in the UK.
Yes,
they would say is the real story.
It's covered. People who what it's down to was put up the numbers so much is people already have HIV, because these numbers are based on people who are diagnosed here, but they've often been pre-diagnosed somewhere else.
Abroad, yes.
So, and largely it looks like this means more than 53% of all HIV diagnoses in England were among people previously diagnosed. And here we find out, by place of birth, only 902, about 1/6 of the total HIV cases recorded in 2003 were among people in Britain. Still trying to get to it. Over half of the cases, finally we're there, some 3,300 were among people originally born in Africa. So there it is, Africa's coming here, full stop.
His notes.
Yeah.
He's just got notes on it. He's got one note on there and it just says, Africans coming here. It's the most GB News note I've seen in 2 years.
Yes, but it's the stop of the sentence that was the...
Africans coming here, full stop.
That's what's happening.
Yeah,
People are coming here and spreading HIV is what I was... Never mind.
Let's clip that one up.
That was fine.
Yeah, that's fine. You didn't say anything wrong. But Paul, the Star, has a story which I imagine will be a big help to our fellow comics who are too cowardly to come on this show.
Yes, exactly. Cash paid to sperm donors increases for the first time in 13 years.
Yippee!
Get in there. Here we go. That's the second job sorted. Sperm donors will get an extra £10. It's £45 now for one of those.
That's a lot of pints of milk.
Extractions. Yeah. How much is that? 45, up from £35. So a quick what's it, and there you go, nearly 50.
Well, I've been throwing away thousands.
No, hopefully in a pot.
I've been throwing away thousands of pounds a month. I could have been rich.
I mean, you and Matt. No, let's not go there. The statistics are that you and I would make a lot of money out of this. One thing I would say though is, whilst the egg donation has gone up as well by £200, it's now something like 300 and something quid to donate your eggs.
No, it's £985.
Eggs would be worth a lot more, though, wouldn't they? I mean, we know that. Check your evolutionary biology here.
We get paid per sperm.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't work that way. No, it doesn't work. It doesn't work that way.
Oh,
it's by collection, apparently.
I've read The Guardian, and I might have eggs as well, so I'm going to donate my eggs.
OK, very good.
That's very good of you. And
it's an interesting thing because its donation is on the decrease, which is...
Yes, donations have been going down, so they put the money up in line with inflation. It's one of the things I didn't think necessarily had to stay in line with inflation, but I think on average you need to spend 4 visits a month to pay for London rent now. You know, it's what it'd be like. It's, how did you get that nice mansion, big testicle Joe? You know, so you can basically, if you're living on the street, then this is best I could come up with. With this is spur of the moment.
You've got some of the best stand-up comedy I've ever seen.
You're so demanding.
And you went with big.
Yes, I know. What can we do? But I will live with it. So yeah, that's what you do now to get out of debt and pay for life jobs.
But then what's going to happen is, of course, if the bank account details are like released as the Labour government want, then they're going to be like, what are these £45 payments?
Yeah. Also,
can you be on the dole and making sperm donations? How does that count? That's the story I want to hear Daily Star, get on it.
And also, talking of Labour, this is another attack on old people who can't participate.
Yeah, exactly. No, yeah, because they should be giving up the sperm to get the heating.
Give your sperm to an old person and let them hand it in.
Oh, that's really
Actually,
sweet.
just let them try it or keep them warm.
And also, because their houses are so cold, it'll keep it, like, frozen longer. Right, Guardian next, Kerry, and it's the beginning of my favourite month of the year.
It's Black History Month, which kicks off aiming to reclaim... I don't know whether... What do you do for this? Fist bump? Are we allowed a fist bump? I'm not sure whether that's not... Okay, that's appropriation. High fives? Can we do that one? Nothing. How do we celebrate it?
We don't.
No.
We do celebrate.
We just mention it.
We just go, we're reclaiming narratives. This is what it's all about.
I want to celebrate it.
Reclaiming narrative about the Black History Month. Go.
OK, so basically the theme is going to be reclaiming narratives, which I thought was the narrative that was the narrative of Black History Month anyway.
I don't have a problem with it. Some of my best friends are racist, and they...
What?
Yeah, that's how it works in my life.
Horrifying.
So Black History Month, to me, though, I mean, what we're supposed to say, of course, this is for us to talk about on GBNews for obvious reasons, but to me, because it's just... It's designed to wind us up, and
designed to wind you up.
It's designed. Well, maybe the questions are aiming completely at me.
I love it. I love writing my 15,000 report on Rosa Parks. I have done so many of these.
What's gained? What don't we know?
Well, I've learned a lot of it. I learned a lot of interesting stuff because I do my kids' homework. And I now know everything about Black history in the UK and around the world.
You know, it's a month.
I know it's a month.
That's a good starting point, isn't it?
And it's October, which is 31 days.
No, I think it's definitely stuff we should be teaching. I think it's very valid and so on. But some of the angles I think don't really. This one about showcasing plaques that commemorate individuals in the city who received financial compensation under the Slavery Abolition Act of 1833 for the loss of their so-called property, which is, that is horrible. And we should talk about that and so on. But at the same time, we should also talk about the fact that Britain was the country that stopped slavery, that closed it down. Doesn't mean it was right in the first place. I mean, it's horrifying that it ever happened. But nevertheless, Britain did their part in closing it down. And one of the reasons they handed out those financial compensations was really to get the job done. It was to make it pass in the country that they went, all right, well, here's a whole load of money. Let's just get this happening. And I think that should be included with it. But it's also that I do think we should talk about anyone at this point who doesn't think that slavery was bad is just not going to be convinced.
Dear history. But yeah, I know. I think we should do Black History Year. We should do it every day, but mix it in with everybody's history, and then we're all part of the history.
Or maybe more than a year.
No, fine. Right, just the final section to go. There's lots of fun to be had with the centenarians, on the decline, the dangers of not farting, and what should we call James Blunt? Maybe something that rhymes answers into.
GB News Breakfast. Every day from 6 a.m.
Is the fact that electric blanket sales going up actually a good thing? This means that people are switched on to the problems that the winter might hold, that they might have some defence against it, or is it a real indictment of a Labour government that they aren't going to be able to, support elderly people in their hour of need?
Good morning, by the way.
Morning.
I think the sale of electric blankets may well be because we've had this cold snap because of the Arctic weather coming in from the north. However, I think it's an absolute reality that, as your clip said, that over 800,000 elderly people who are eligible for the winter fuel allowance, who can get pension credits, are struggling to apply. And so what is absolutely essential at the moment is that all of those older people who are eligible for pension credits do apply and do get what's owed to them. The benefits are owed to them. And the average that people will get through pension credits is about £78 a week. So that's definitely going to make a massive difference to people who are really struggling.
What can organisations like yours do to encourage people to, educate themselves on technology and make that first step into the digital world, which is very intimidating at times?
Absolutely, and that's what we do at Good Things Foundation. So we're a national charity. We work all across the whole of the UK. And in your clip there, you had Links Digital, and they're a member of what we call the National Digital Inclusion Network, which is a network of local charities, small local community organisations, food banks, job centres, old people's clubs. So anyone, any organisation at that local level.
GB News, the People's Channel.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
Weekdays on GB News. Wake up to breakfast every day from 6 a.m. Followed by Britain's newsroom at 9:30. At noon, it's Good Afternoon Britain. Followed by Martin Daubney from 3 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I see. So Africans are coming. I get it. That's funny. Yeah, no, that's funny. Right, welcome back.
It's how you say the word.
No, I see. Welcome back to Headlines. Good one, Kerry. And let's get straight into Wednesday's Telegraph, Kerry. And have we reached peak old people? And probably this is a good moment to shout out to my mate Andy's parents, who are big fans of the show, and Earl's dad. I think he's a fan of the show. I don't know if you guys got... Your parents are good fans of the show?
Yeah, both my parents will be watching right now.
Right. Well, I don't think it counts. I'm talking like friends' parents. That's next level. My parents don't even know that I do the show. Anyway, Kerry.
My mum wouldn't give a... She wouldn't care.
She wouldn't care?
Yeah, I stopped at give her there.
Yeah, right. That made me cry, Kerry.
Why fewer people are now living to 100? Now, apparently, we have fewer centenarians in England and Wales. They says they've dropped for the first time, which I don't think they mean in that sense. The number has dropped. They haven't dropped.
OK.
And this is since COVID. So that's just... It's picked up since COVID, and then it's dropped down again. What we have is more people living to 90, but fewer people actually making it to 100. And I think this is all just... I don't even know why we're being told this particularly. It seems like kind of temporary. Despite last year's slowdown in the fall in centenarians, the long-term trend is one of growing numbers of older people, which is hooray, but bad, because we can't afford them, apparently. So I suppose this is nice. It means there's going to be there's fewer centenarians, so there's fewer letters for the king to send out.
Yeah, so we're saving a lot of money on stamps.
Save money on stamps.
Saving a fortune on stamps.
You know that's just
fingers, it's tricky anyway.
Yeah, we've seen his writing as well. No one wants that spidery, weird...
Can't say the king, by the way.
That started during the Queen's reign. It never used to be a thing, but it started during Queen Elizabeth's reign to send out. And I always thought...
People didn't live to 100 before.
Yeah, I suppose that's why. Very good point.
Yeah.
But I always thought it was a shame she died at 96. I wanted to find out whether four years later she'd have to send herself a letter.
Yeah, it'd be interesting.
Yeah.
Taking ages to get there because the Royal Mail is rubbish. But, I mean, the most startling fact is one we already know, which is that women are still far more likely to live into old age than men. Women outnumber men 4.5 to 1.
How about that glass ceiling, eh?
Exactly.
The age glass
Where's the equality
ceiling?
in that? I'd
right.
rather be paid less and live longer, Josh.
That is crazy. Yeah, I'm surprised. Centenarians, I thought that they were like they fought for the Roman army. So this has been a very instructive...
What did you think nonagenarians were?
Centurions. OK, well, Africans are coming, Kerry. Telegraph again. And Paul, if it's going to cost you 100k, you might as well get divorced anyway.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. I spent 100k to sleep separately from my husband. It saved our marriage. This isn't about me, by the way. It wasn't my husband that I spent 100k on. So-called sleep divorces are rising for those who can afford bigger homes. So this is particularly focused on a lady called Julia Champion, who spent 100k on a bigger house, which gave them all a separate bedroom, children included, and including her and her husband, because her husband snored. That was me snoring then, but apparently I snore. At least that's what all the women I sleep with say, Josh. But I don't know if...
Does she?
Yeah, does he? But I'm not sure that this is the solution. It's going to work for a very small minority of relatively well-off people. I understand what she's saying here.
Yeah.
Sleeping in separate beds is probably not a bad idea, even if one of the partners isn't snoring.
Even on holiday?
Even on holiday.
It says here, even on holiday.
Tell you what, even better, go on a separate holiday to the missus, have a whale of a time.
But this is a much more...
You know her.
Yeah. But this is a much more popular phenomenon. I'd never heard of sleep divorces, but supposedly 1 in 20 people in London
These two are just friends with benefits, basically, though. But yeah, no, OK, so the expression there is, this is why I reckon it's happened. The clue here is Nigel Bishop, Rococo property researcher, says sleep divorce, there's the phrase, is much more common than one might think and decided factor. And then he talks about how there's plenty of newlyweds and so on who want to sleep separately. This is an advert by estate agents who are putting out this new phrase and idea. You know, and he's giving reasons why you might want to sleep apart, and lots of people do it, and it's quite normal. And snoring's very annoying, isn't it? Yeah. And I think that, and so you've got people saying, yeah, he's right, we need a bigger bedroom.
Well,
we need separate bedrooms, we need bigger houses.
Had today. Anyway, most important story of the night in the Star, Kerry. Blow us away.
I know you did. Yeah. Boffins say holding in farts can be bad for you. Here's what happens if you do. People have known this forever. That's why we've always had that phrase, better out than in, but finally it's been proved right. As long as you use that sentence only for farts, not for getting your penis out or anything else, it doesn't work for that.
If you donate, you want to make some money.
What?
Better out than in, make 45 quid.
Yes, right.
You don't have to do it in public, though, do you?
No,
Kerry,
say, hey,
Kerry is not wearing any trousers or pants under it.
Better out than in, I told you.
This is the last time I'm putting up
He is donating 45 quid all over the place.
You can injure yourself by not passing gas, in the same way you can injure yourself by never pooping, it says, because we're using the American now.
True story.
What happens is constantly holding it in can harm your bowels in the long run. The long run, I don't know whether that's supposed to be a pun. According to Stein, small pockets called diverticular, so they form in your colon. So now you can say better out than in, and if you want to look clever, you then say because of the colon diverticular.
Really?
I obviously can't say it.
Diverticulitis?
Diverticular. I know. Should I have? Wow, I don't really put down like this. This show's turned nasty. It was friendly.
My theory is that the reason why they say that if you're married, you live longer is because if you're not, you're still dating, in which case you're still having to hold in your farts and stuff.
Good.
Whereas
That's
when you're married, you can let it all out and just sleep in separate bedrooms. Right, let's move on to the next story. The Guardian just keeps pushing its agenda on us, Paul, but I refuse to raise another man's eggs.
That's all I thought when I read this story. Flamingo foster fathers hatch an egg together in San Diego Zoo. Now, 2 male flamingos have joined their kind's ranks of same-sex co-parents after hatching eggs together in the safari park in San Diego. Look, this is an absolute nonsense.
Very progressive.
This is well, it's not. This is not what progression looks like, is it? Well, this is not why we fought the Battle of Britain, Josh, so that flamingos could pretend to be gay. Because this is all this is.
It's nothing about being gay.
It sounds like a lot of.
It does not mention gay.
Same-sex.
It's not gay at all.
It does not mention gay. It talks about.
Not everything's gay.
Not everything's gay.
I mean, this does sound like a load of colon diverticulosis to me.
Pink flamingos are arguably.
I love their music.
They are gay. Pretty though.
I love their music.
Yeah.
OK, yeah, they're 2 foster dads. I don't think there's anything about them being gay, but they were kind of tricked into this with a fake egg.
Yeah.
They were trained to or encouraged to sit on a fake egg, which is a weird thing to get anyone to do.
Basically, if anybody encouraged you to sit on a fake baby, do not do it because you're going to be raising some other person's kid. The show is nearly over. Let's take another quick look at Wednesday's front pages. The Daily Telegraph. Iran attacks Israel. Iran missile attack on Israel sparks fears of new war. The Guardian, Israel vows to retaliate after Iran launches missile attack. The Metro, Iran's new blitz at Israel. The FT, Iran fires missile barrage against Israel. And finally, The Times, Middle East erupts. And those were your front pages. That is all we have time for. Thank you very much to Kerry and Paul. We are back tomorrow at 11 p.m. with Andrew Doyle in the big boy's seat, joined by Steve N. Allen and Nick Dixon. And if you're watching at 5 a.m, stay tuned for breakfast. Stay safe. Bye.
Heavy showers first thing will be followed by a warm, cosy day. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hi there and welcome to the latest forecast from the Met Office for GB News. Drier for many of us over the next 24 hours. Clearest in the north, but elsewhere there will be still some cloud and some showers, especially across eastern and southeastern parts of England, as the area of low pressure responsible for all the rain of the last few days slowly pulls away. As it pulls away, we've got this cold wind coming in from the North Sea to affect eastern parts of England. A lot of low cloud for the north and east of England, as well as the Midlands, parts of East Wales, and with that low cloud, some showery, drizzly rain at times. But in the far west, and certainly across Scotland and Northern Ireland, we've got clear skies and a chilly start to Wednesday, but that's where the best of the sunshine will be. Northern Ireland, much of Scotland, blue skies from the word go, and having seen a few showers in the northeast of Scotland during Tuesday, it's a drier spell on Wednesday and Thursday here with mostly just sunny spells. And Western Scotland, barely a cloud in sight first thing, 1 or 2 mist patches for Northern Ireland, otherwise largely fine. However, as we get into England and Wales, here we've got more extensive cloud cover, and the rain that we started the week with, well, that's turned to showers. Nevertheless, through the Wash, parts of Norfolk, Suffolk, perhaps Kent, we'll see quite a number of showers continuing through the day, along with a brisk northeast breeze and a lot of cloud. That's going to make it feel considerably cooler than elsewhere across the UK. So low to mid-teens on the east coast, where we've got some sunny spells elsewhere, 15 to 17 Celsius. We start Thursday with widespread clear skies. Still 1 or 2 showers through the day across the far southeast, but otherwise, for many, it's simply a sunny day. Best day of the week widely across the UK, and feeling pleasant enough in that sunshine with light winds as well. Friday starts off on a similar note, but there will be some rain in the far west later and an unsettled weekend to come.
Despite the morning rain, it'll be a nice, warm, cosy day ahead. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
There's still plenty of time to grab your chance to win a whopping £36,000 cash in the Great British Giveaway. That's like having £3,000 each month for an entire year. Extra cash in your bank account that you can do whatever you like with. Take a year off and keep it to yourself. You don't even need to tell the taxman, as it's totally tax-free. For another chance to win £36,000 in tax-free cash, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. You can enter online at gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2, or post your name and number to GB08 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 5 p.m. on the 25th of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Dubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the argument. We get rid of the disrespect, and then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together, and what have we got? In my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mark Dolan tonight is your weekend dose of news, debate and entertainment.
This sounds like a wild conspiracy theory.
Don't miss my big opinion. Mark meets and my take at 10.
Democracy is a funny old thing.
And we don't do boring, not on my watch. I just won't have it.
Let's go and get another glass of that bubbly. You've earned it.
That's Mark Dolan tonight, Saturday and Sunday, 9 to 11, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain.
Your lunchtime update on the stories that matter across the UK.
From breaking news and insightful analysis, inspiring stories and lively debates. You're comparing yourself to a former Prime Minister.
Which is it?
Stay informed, stay updated, stay entertained.
I just don't know how anyone would not want to be there.
Every weekday from midday.
We are Good Afternoon Britain, only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Welcome to State of the Nation, daily plunge into the stories shaping our country. I'm Jacob Rees-Mogg, and Monday to Thursday we bring you the insights, the facts, the truth about how our country is being governed. Because what happens in Downing Street matters down your street. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good evening. Well, unsurprisingly, Iran have hit back tonight at Israel by firing a couple of hundred ballistic missiles. It seems that the Iron Dome has worked, but do we fear more escalation in the Middle East? Today, not that you'd know it, it's the Conservative Party conference, who seem to be obsessed with me and with reform. Can they really win back reform voters? That and much more coming up after the news with Cameron Walker.
Good evening. The time is 7 o'clock. I'm Cameron Walker here in the GB newsroom. And breaking news this evening, Iran has launched nearly 200 missiles at Israel. The attack is now over, according to the Israeli military, but a spokesperson says it will have serious consequences. Well, let's go straight to our Home and Security editor, Mark White. Mark, what is the latest in this rapidly unfolding situation?
Well, an indication of just how normalised the threats are in Israel. The population are now being told that they can leave their air raid shelters, but stay close by in case, of course, they need to get back into those air raid shelters. Again, you're looking at now some earlier images of one of two waves of Iranian ballistic missiles that rained down on Israel. In fact, I've never seen this before. The alert system that I have here that shows me about individual sirens that are going off. The whole of the country was put into lockdown effectively. Everyone told to get into an air raid shelter because they had no idea really where the missiles would be targeting. Then it became clear that many of the missiles, it seems, landed in open areas. We had dramatic images of missiles raining down, and it looked as though we were seeing multiple impacts on the ground. But the Iron Dome system, and we're looking at those images now of these clearly missiles coming down and impacting. But as I say, the Iron Dome aerial array system that protects against incoming aerial threats is so sophisticated that it can project the trajectory of an incoming projectile and where it's due to land. And if it's landing in open territory, such as the Negev desert, then it is allowed basically through to impact the ground, because clearly these defence systems that Israel have are precious. They need to keep the missiles for the threats that are the missiles that are going to hit populated areas and cause real damage. So that's what we were seeing with these impacts, I think, on the ground, because we've just been hearing from Rear Admiral Daniel Hagari, who is Israel's main military spokesperson. He said that he was not aware of any significant casualties as a result of these missile strikes. He said that a number of missiles did impact, but there appeared to be no major issues in terms of damage or casualties. But of course, that could change as a proper assessment is carried out in the minutes and hours ahead. So 200 close to ballistic missiles were launched. This confirmed by the Iranian regime as well, who again sent out a warning to Israel to say that if Israel responded, then it would escalate its response back towards Israel once more. And that is the real concern here, that we could see a tit-for-tat escalation, that there is no doubt that Israel will respond in some manner, but quite what that response will be. If you remember, back in April of this year, there was an unprecedented missile attack that took place from Iran into Israel in response to what they said was the Israeli military targeting and killing two of their generals in the Syrian capital Damascus in an Iranian embassy compound building there. So they launched 320 missiles, drones and ballistic missiles at that point as well. 99% of those were intercepted. Now, Israel responded, but Iran, it seems, felt that response they could live with. So that was it. There was tit and then there was tat, and then it stopped. But depending on just how Israel decides to respond now, then clearly there is the potential for it to escalate further. So the hope will have to be at this hour that as far as Israel is concerned, they will respond, but they will respond in a manner